if you walked up to a door and they've already seen your face a handful of times, they've already seen your colors a few times, they've already seen your logos a few times, bro, you're starting to break those barriers down before you even open the door. And that gives you the opportunity to help increase that close rate. Mm-hmm. Marketing department and sales department should be synergized.
Great experiences build great leaders. Great leaders build great teams. This is Building Great Sales Teams.
I've made the horrid mistake a handful of times.
The record button.
Yeah.
For sure.
So.
No, I've never done that, but I have forgotten to record my data cable or to plug in my data cable. So it did the whole thing via Bluetooth, and the quality was just horrible. But it was a guest episode, so I screwed up somebody else's episode.
Right. Oh man, that's crazy. How's you still got? Did you get the AC unit fixed on the trailer?
Nah, it's gonna be at Pat's for a while. Like
everything really?
Else, it'll probably be there like a month, I would imagine. Yeah, it's gonna be a while. That's why I was like, at first we were moving offices because Alicia was starting her tutoring service and she was gonna take the office I'm in now. I was gonna move across the hall, and they were taking too long. The old tenants were taking too long to get out, and so we're like, screw it, find you another spot. I'll stay here, and then I can set up my background and everything.
Yeah.
And so. I was like, I got to get this done because I don't have the trailer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's important.
Anytime I could, I would use the trailer, but
yeah,
I don't know what's going on. Do you like monitor your metrics on your podcast a lot? Are you like in that or not really? You're just
not really. Yeah, I'm just as of right now putting it out. I mean, I looked at it like last week or something because I saw someone was like, posting their analytics. I was like, I don't even know where mine's at right now,
Yeah, and most, I mean, and it should be to a certain degree, especially when you're first starting out, is just do it, you know what I mean, and promote it and try not to get too caught up in the metrics. But we had a huge spike today from like, we'll do 50 or 60 downloads a day to like, we're almost at 300 today. And I'm like,
holy crap.
What the hell's going on? And usually we can tie it to a guest, or we can tie it to like a background, or we can, you know what I mean? But we can't figure anything out. And it's weird because it's like our last 50 episodes got downloaded 5 or 6 times each. So I'm like, okay, it's obviously an auto download situation, but like, where did those 5 people come from that are auto downloading the whole thing?
Yeah, that's crazy. Huh.
It's one of those things, like, I don't need to be looking into it. It's not that important, but at the same time, I'm like, how the fuck did we get this spike, and how do we do it again?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, you definitely want to replicate it. That's kind of where I'm at, is throwing. How many episodes are you at right now?
I think this one will be like 66 or 67.
Okay. So I'm behind you. I'm about halfway behind you. I'll be dropping 31 or 32 on Monday. And so like the whole rest of this year, I'm really kind of just focusing on, getting the cobwebs out and kind of working through some of this BS. And then next year, like my full-time goal, the goal is to be full-time, just nothing but events, podcasts for, guest spots, my own, and then just really just putting out content.
Yeah, creating the top of the funnel.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Yeah, with this, it just became a passion out of nowhere. It was just like, there's all this stuff we could do to build our machine. This was the only thing I was excited about.
Well, A, you're good at it, but B, man, it's a power move. I don't care what anyone says. Like you'll have some people that kind of half-ass a podcast and, they don't really take it serious. And then you've got the ones that like, bro, like you got heavy hitters on your schedule and on your previous recording. So I think you're killing it, man. And I mean, you're only just starting. I mean, you're a year into it now with 60 episodes, or how many are y'all putting out? Okay.
7 months. So the reason for that is we started doing 3 episodes a month in June.
Okay.
Or 3 episodes a week.
There's a week. Yeah.
And that shot us through the roof as far as downloads, episodes, and all that stuff. So, and I'm not gonna lie, it has been a freaking grind to maintain.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
I mean, Ryan's producing everything, and then my VAs are chopping up all the content and all that. But still, like finding, I have 3 guests a week sometimes. So the coordination and most of the time it's just throwing out a calendar invite like I did with you. But
yeah,
I don't know. It feels like a lot, even though I'm not doing that much, I guess, because I'm dealing with comments and content and all that stuff too. So,
no, it definitely is a lot, bro. Because that's what I want to get up to. I want to get up to like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's just Mondays, and my goal was to have already been at 2 a week, so it was just kind of stair step, like 1 a week, then jump to 2, and then jump to 3. And with everything we've been doing and all these like new programs we're launching, bro, even 1 a week has been like, I'm like, fuck, all right. Like I'll go like batch, like I'll sit down and record, and one day I'll record like 3 and 4. I'll like literally change shirts and change hats. Like one episode, the hat will be this way. The next episode it's backwards, like whatever. Just to have like that peace of mind, especially with so much travel. So like, the ultimate goal is to have the 3. And I think 3 is going to be about the sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
Because everything else I want to put out like live content and other types of blogs and stuff like that. But, yeah, man, that's awesome. Good for you.
That's what I need to get into more is the live stuff. I haven't really done a whole lot of live stuff. Because the live stuff that I have done, it gets weird because sometimes you're talking to yourself.
But
I keep having to remember it's going to be posted later, so people are going to go back and watch it later too,
That's what I do. I basically just treat it like, a podcast. And then like as people get on there and start asking specific questions, that's when I can kind of like fire away, and it kind of helps bringing in some of that stuff full circle.
I always do mine driving, and that's a mistake. Like just put it on the prop or whatever and have that hold the phone and be driving, but then like you can't read the comments and stuff. You got to be in a command station.
For sure.
Right. All right, brother, let's roll into this.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, I got Zack ROI Williams. He's been in sales and marketing for 16 years now. 13 years of that, he was working for the man in corporate America for Fortune 500 companies, with the last 3 years being in the private sector. Some of his recent victories have been $1 million in sales in the first 10 weeks working with a new client, as well as a $100,000 day for his own organization. Guys, I've known Zack for probably close to a year now. I met you in Cabo, right?
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you coming on the show, brother. Ever since I met you, dude, just the energy has been insane. The content you've been putting out has been insane. I mean, it's what I expect from a true marketer. You know what I mean? When I see marketers out there and stuff like that, and I go to their pages and go to their content, it just kind of falls flat, but all your stuff is like hard hitting. Your copywriting is probably the thing that I notice the most. Your writing is amazing. So where does that come from? Where obviously you have a love of writing for sure.
Man, I really don't know. Like I don't think there's like a defining moment. Like I actually have not gone out and I've got it on order, kick-ass copywriting, but I don't really know, to be honest. I will say that it did come over repetition. Yeah. I don't want to sit here and sound like everyone else. It's like, oh man, like, my friends all used to make fun of me and I just pushed through it and this and that. But still at the end of the day, I found myself just utilizing social media because it was my job for most of my adult life to be there. That was the platform that I was, put on to telling stories. Right. And it just kept developing to this process. And again, like, I don't want to sound like this guy, but I mean, if I had $1 for every time I've been called, like, a social media queen or whatever the case is, I would literally not even have to work anymore. But like, my friends used to rag on me because I would post so much. And at the time I didn't have a rhyme or reason. Like, I wasn't like, I'm going to write a social media calendar and I'm going to do this all day, every day. I was just doing it because it came to me, it came natural. And so I was like, you know what? As I got this thought, let me put this out there. Let me see how people interact with it. And subconsciously, genuinely, subconsciously, what I was doing, not knowing, was I was testing my market. I was seeing what types of, creatives, what types of copy, what types of stories, what types of emotions people like seeing out of me. And it just kind of evolved to where we see it today.
Well, I can tell you one thing that I've noticed is, one, the experience, right? That 16 years coming into play when you see a post from you. But the other piece is, like, most people would look at it and, they're very opinionated and strongly worded posts, right? So they'll either be for it or against it, and that'll be it. But when I'm looking at it, I'm watching these keywords in there. I'm watching how you're kind of grabbing people and bringing them into basically the sale, And so I can kind of see that happening in the process. It's like, okay, here's something to get your attention. Here's a struggle. Here's a pain point. Here's how I'm overcoming it, or my client's overcoming it, or whatever the case is. And then as you're doing that, though, you're describing your product, you know what I mean, in a sense, whether it be a course, an investment, whatever the case is, and then they're hooked at that point, and then they want to know more, and then click, and here we are. Yeah, $100,000 day later.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a very interesting roller coaster for me, for sure. Especially because, as we know, we're not all profit. So right. I literally had to go to the bank and, write a $50,000 check that from one day, that actually, the check was actually much larger than 50 grand because it, accumulated the past 2 weeks worth of sales.
Right.
We got about 50% margin on that product, but that was an interesting, time for me. It'll definitely go down in like that, one of those stepping stones. Like, I remember our first, 6-figure month, right? Like, right. Throughout this process and how big that was for us. And then now fast forward to a 6-figure day, it's been pretty cool. But going back to your point on like bringing people into like the story and the pain point and the structure of everything is, man, I openly talk about it all the time. And I'm glad to be on this specific podcast because it's mostly geared towards sales staff and sales staff. I actually just got off a call with a prospect to work for us in the sales department. And it was really cool. I didn't realize it as I was saying it, but me being a CEO that came from the sales and marketing, it's great because I'll never say that any one person is better than someone else within an organization because it takes all the puzzle pieces. However, me having experience in sales, I love the fact that I can keep my guys hungry and I can keep my guys striving for more. So that's really exciting. But what I was telling him is it really comes down to, and what I tell everyone is it comes down to selling the dream. Right. Sell the achievement, sell whatever the opportunity is and not worrying about the product or service. A lot of times I see sales staff getting so caught up in selling whatever that product or service is versus pushing what that product or service provides, what that dream is. And it's been really cool, to seeing how that changes between sales staff, even if it is the same product or service. I'll give an example. Like you said, we, one of our biggest pushes right now is our investment program. And I put out a post and I was talking about how I drive, a really badass truck. I mean, it's lifted, 12-inch lift, 37s, 26-inch wheels, sound system, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. And my post about our investment program was, hey, let me show you guys how I drive this badass truck and have all these parts on it for free every month. And as we were going through that, I mean, the leads it's insane how many leads that generated. My wife, as I was like explaining to her, like, where my head was at in the sales process, I saw it click in her eyes. She literally went onto Facebook and made a post. My wife's post was, hey, y'all see us going to Disney 3 times a year and everyone keeps asking me how y'all can afford that or, this, that, whatever. How can y'all be away from your business, this, that, whatever. And she gave this whole pitch on how we travel for free or how we make money while we travel or how we can make money while we're asleep, when we're out of town. And it was crazy. We're both pitching the same exact thing. I'm talking about some big badass lifted truck. My wife's talking about a Disney trip. Same product, just two different approaches, and they both clicked with their own individual demographics.
Man, we're blessed because we get to sell something that you're selling in both situations, and to me, it's freedom, right? So at our company, our mission statement is we help each other achieve freedom, and freedom is driving around a $100,000 truck because I love that truck and all the parts that go with it, you know what I'm saying, and the look that it has and everything about it, you know. It doesn't have to be a $300,000 Lamborghini, you know, that's my Lamborghini, is my King Ranch lifted truck. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. I love it. Pearl, right?
Yeah, Pearl. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with your wife. That's her Lamborghini, going to Disney 3 times a year. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't catch me dead at Disney. That's not my thing. Waiting in lines and all that. Like I have the pass to Fiesta, Texas, and we got the fast pass at Fiesta, Texas, which the lines are a lot smaller. So anyways,
let me just tell you, I love my wife a whole lot.
She gets you to go to Disney 3 times a year. You must love her, right?
Man,
I'm sure your kids love it though.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing.
So, you know, obviously you've been in sales for a lot of that 16 years. Where did the love of marketing come from? Because that comes out of you when you're posting, when you're speaking. When me and you were just having conversations at masterminds. There's an intense love of marketing there. Where'd that come from?
Man, so like growing up, and I don't know how deep we can dive off into this, but like growing up, I loved building stuff. Like, I don't care what it was, whether, you know, you graduate, right? First you start with like Legos, and then it's like another type of toy. And then it gets into like tearing everything you own apart just to see if you can put it back together again, so on and so forth. And I think a piece of my brain that operated from that, you know, translated over rather into the business world, where I was learning how to find broken pieces of businesses in the marketing and sales department and start putting those back together and seeing that business now run more efficiently, and then keep tweaking on it. And now it's running even more efficiently, and tweak on it a little bit more. And now we're way more profitable. You know, we fixed our bottom line. We were able to increase our sales opportunities. We were able to bring in more leads. We were able to increase our close rate. Every little aspect that goes into producing a well-oiled sales and marketing department really fascinated me, because oftentimes, and I even had to nip this in the butt with a private client literally this week, is having a sales department and a marketing department that butts heads is one of the most toxic things that you can have. And I've been finding ways on incorporating those and synergizing those two departments, because you got the marketing company or marketing department that says, you know, the sales staff can't close the door. And then you got the, you know, sales staff that says that the marketing company's leads are trash. And it's like, hey guys, let's have some communication here, because guess what? The better we can make the marketing department, then the better you're going to be able to close leads. Look, I don't care who you are. A lot of our industry now, you know, we close leads on a cell phone, right? A majority, not all, but a majority. So if you knew that every time your phone rang and it was a sales lead, you only had a 10% chance of closing that deal, you're not going to be as enthusiastic as when you have that conversation as you are in a 50% chance or a 60 or 70% chance. Or in some cases, when you really start adding in some of the sales friction, right? When we start actually qualifying these leads, 80%, if you knew that 8 out of 10 times you picked up that phone, you're going to be a lot happier when you pick that up, right? So a lot of that goes into having that clean, concise, and clear message between your sales and marketing departments. And to me, when I start seeing these things get fixed and businesses operate more, and I start seeing more and more dollar signs go into these bank accounts, it gets me really happy, bro.
Yeah, I can imagine seeing the kind of impact that you're making with your clients. One of the things I've noticed about marketing, and I haven't done a whole lot of it, right? Our marketing is door to door. You know what I'm saying? That's barely marketing. That's the top end of the sales funnel, actually. You know what I mean? Like, so we generate the lead from impulse, from scratch, right? And so I had complete control of that. So that was always easy, you know, that part of it, right? The way I see marketing is, you talked about that conversion rate, on sales, right? And so to me, coming from the sales side, it's that conversion rate. Sales is responsible for that conversion rate. Like, you need to take extreme accountability on that. You know, it doesn't matter the neighborhood you're working in. What'll come out is like credit fails and stuff like that. That'll tell you you're in the wrong neighborhood, right? But people are saying yes, then you're in the right neighborhood. It's just a matter if they can qualify or not, right? And so one of the things I've noticed about marketing is it primes that customer and creates a better conversion rate on the sales side, because, all right, they know what the product is, they know why they want it, they have a demand for it, and now they need to talk to someone to complete the sale, to process the sale, whatever the case may be. And so good marketing can double a conversion rate, you know, and there's too many times that sales org owners and, you know, businesses in general just accept the kind of leads they're getting or accept the kind of prospects that they're going after versus tuning the marketing and tweaking the marketing or hiring an outside marketer to basically bring us better leads. You know, it's not quantity, it's quality, right?
No, 100%. And I feel like every industry is different. Even every geographical location is different. Every even specific business is different. Like, I genuinely believe that. And I think there is a sweet spot between quantity and quality. Now, first of all, my hat's off to door knockers, bro. Like, I do think door knocking is the premier sales. Like, I've seen some of the coldest people in the sales industry, as far as like gurus or top performers, come from door knocking originally. I think that there goes a lot into being able to instantaneously bring walls down, because genuinely, I don't really think in 2022, not to timestamp this episode, but where we're at today, I don't think anyone really would just be like, I love when someone comes over unannounced. You know what I mean?
Hell no.
Right. So you're instantaneously walking into fighting an uphill battle. So to be able to pull some of those guards down instantaneously, I think is a very, very valuable tactic. And I do see the value in actually having a face-to-face conversation. Me, if I could have all my sales calls or whatever the case be face-to-face, guarantee you my close rate would be significantly higher. I do know that there is a much more better opportunity to establish that type of relationship and that rapport with that customer when you're actually able to see each other, have that conversation face-to-face, and put a face to a name. But I agree with priming wherever it is you're going. Not to have like a shameless plug, but that's why we developed the virtual door knock program. It's all based off priming areas for door knocking, right? And essentially, ultimately, not necessarily replacing it, but hey, if you can close the deal without having to get out in that Texas heat, boy, I'm sure you're cool with it. But there was a test done over at Harvard in Southern California where they surveyed 200 homeowners and they asked them, who is your local real estate agent? And there was no congruency at all on who that was. I mean, it's the guy whose billboard's at the end of the street. Oh, it's the person that sold me my last house. Oh, it's my cousin or my sister or a friend of a friend. So no congruency. Harvard then ran a study, and they created a fake persona, fake picture, fake business name, logo, whole 9 yards. And they ran what's called an 8x8 campaign where they sent out one postcard every week for 8 weeks with this fake persona on it, saying that they were the local realtor. They went back and resurveyed all 200 homeowners, and 65% of people chose the fake persona. So yeah, man. So that's where we kind of come in on the marketing side of things to help assist the sales guy. If you walked up to a door and they've already seen your face a handful of times, they've already seen your colors a few times, they've already seen your logos a few times, bro, you're starting to break those barriers down before you even open the door. And that gives you the opportunity to help increase that close rate. Marketing department and sales department should be synergized.
Absolutely. That's kind of our two-pronged approach right now that we're working on is one, creating the interest before the door, like you said, and then two, closing in person, right? We never want to get rid of that. You know, the thought always is, you know, door knocking's dead, in-person's closing dead. Well, it depends on the product. There's a lot of variables that go into this. Like, solar is not something that is easily sold virtually. Now, it is very successfully by people in our in our network. But just like you said, I know my close rates are going to be better if I lean into my strength, which is face-to-face closing versus virtual closing. And so we're working on that, as well as we're doing super targeting in Corpus Christi. So Corpus Christi, Texas is where our biggest sales force is. And so like we've got SEO there. We've got, like you said,
direct mail.
Yeah, direct mail there. We've got local news reporting on us there. We've got local ads going on there. We want to be hitting them from every aspect: digital, print, in person, whatever the case is, reviews, referrals, all that good stuff. We want to be known as that 200 home area that Harvard was testing, but we want it for Corpus Christi, right? And then once we don't need to prove the model, we just need to execute it, right? Because we know the model works. Harvard just confirmed it. And so we need to execute that model, and then we do the same thing in other cities if we want to expand. But there's so much money to be made in your market that you're in right now, you don't even have to go outside of your city for. If you just layer on layer on layer your marketing in your target market.
100%. And I'll tell you too, this is something that I preach to our virtual door knock clients all the time. But I'm more than happy to share on your podcast is the thing is you got everyone fighting over bloody water. Corpus Christi, guarantee you, if I pull up a Google right there, granted y'all running a bunch of SEO, which y'all are probably a few steps ahead of some of the other competitors. There's probably 300 different service providers in Corpus Christi. Maybe not as much, but say for example DFW, right there, it's ridiculous. Or even so you start coming over and fighting over this bloody water, as Russell Brunson calls it, and now it's like, who do I trust? Again, when you have people like yourselves that's taken into that next step to have multiple touches where you are running SEO. So, if you're running Google PPC, you'll have a whole list of people, a whole percentage of people that'll skip past all those paid ads because they're like, oh, those are paid ads. Let me get into the real stuff. They get into the real stuff. Boom, there you are again. Okay, now I've seen this dude's ads. I've seen him. He's ranked #1 on Google because of his SEO. He also has a paid Google ad, yada, yada, yada. Now you're starting to get more and more validity. But when we start taking a look at some of these, what I call sub markets, instead of going, and I'm going to use my local hometown, for example, instead of going out and being like, hey guys, we are Baton Rouge's, #1 solar agency. Right. Everyone else is trying to say that. How many #1s can you have in Baton Rouge? So we take the approach where we target the sub market specifically and come in and say, hey, Sherwood Forest, we're your local trusted solar company. Now you start getting way more granular with it. You're starting to capture their attention a lot easier because Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge. How many ads are being run? You got solar, you got roofing, you got general contracting, you got fencing, you got any type of ag stuff, agricultural, landscaping, you name it, even lawn guys. Everyone's saying we're Baton Rouge's #1. We're Baton Rouge's #1. They're so blurred out and they're so dumbed down to seeing Baton Rouge's #1. If I saw any ad that said Sherwood Forest, I'd be like, hold up. Why are you talking about my crew? Why are you talking about where I'm from? Now you got my attention. So that's where we start getting really, really granular with how we target these places to capture that attention versus, again, fighting over all that bloody water.
I can think of about 3. And is Sherwood Forest a suburb or is it a neighborhood?
So it's my neighborhood, actually.
Okay. So I can think about 3 different neighborhoods in Corpus Christi we could do that with right now. So that's huge. So
guys,
absolutely. Write that down and start executing on it right now. And here's the beautiful thing is, like, even if you're somewhat skeptical of the model, it's going to be super cheap to try it. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like, a neighborhood has a few thousand people in it. That's not a big spend on direct mail. That's not a big spend on SEO. That's not a big spend on Facebook ads or Instagram ads or whatever the case is. So you're probably going to spend a couple grand to test this model. And, at least in solar, if you get one sale from it, then you got a duplicatable model. You're good to go.
Exactly. And even I would focus on when you do try to, team up with a direct mail or a marketing agency, focus on ones that are data driven. Like our partners for the direct mail piece, they spent $2.5 million this year alone on data. I literally, when we run our direct mail campaigns, and I'll use solar, for example, I'll literally go into a neighborhood. Hey, Sherwood Forest, we're your #1 solar agency, right? I'll pick out houses that are, I'm just round numbers here, 3,500 square foot house, household median income of $180,000 a year. has a pool and drives a Tesla. Boom, done. Right.
Yeah.
Like I can literally target people based on those, statistics and analytics. And then it's your ideal demographic. So like I said, my thing is to give your sales guys leads on a silver platter, knowing who they are, what type of money they make, to qualify them. Hey, dude, if they drive a Tesla, guaranteed they're at least interested in somewhat, unless it's like a Tesla Plaid and they just care about having the fastest production model car out. I can figure out who, statistically, who has a higher conversion rate, opportunity rather.
Well, and I know that bill is like $600 a month. I mean, so you come in there with solar, and that's the big deal right now. If you're selling solar in California, right, you're saving them money month one. If you're selling solar in like the Midwest states, you're not even saving them money. They better have a green initiative or a green thumb or something, right? And then in Texas, it's like month one, you're breaking even. So you got to get them to make this $50,000 to $70,000 investment, break even, knowing that they're playing the long game. They're going to start seeing a profit in year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5.
Right.
And taking control back, so they don't have these crazy energy increases that we're having in Texas. But again, it's easier to do that when you have a $500 to $600 electric bill, and maybe in year 1 I could save you $50. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because your usage is so high. With a pool and a Tesla, shoot, it's over.
Right.
You have to have solar, or you're gonna spend yourself out of a home.
Yeah, 100%, and that all goes back down to like, your sales staff knowing who they're selling to.
100%. So where do you see a lot of businesses struggle when it comes to marketing? What's like, when you pick up a client, it's always the first thing you go after. You're like, I got to fix this.
Their offer. No marketing at all. I don't care who you are and how much money you have. You will spend yourself out of a business, to use your reference. You will spend yourself out of a business if you don't have a good offer. So, you might think you've got the next best idea, but if you don't pitch it to your specific demographic the right way, just use my wife and my post for the pure example. We had the same service we were selling. If I went to her demographic and tried to sell a big badass truck, no one's going to hit on it. Yeah. If she were to try and go, pure example, if she was trying to sell you on going to Disney 3 times a year, guess what? It falls on deaf ear.
I'm not listening.
Right. So knowing your demographic and knowing how to pitch your service or your product to them is literally the number one thing. The next thing we do is we go in and run competitive analysis on all your competitors. And we break those down to local competitors as well as global competitors. Your global or your local competitors are the people who are, if you're geographically based, that's who's like literally in your circumference. If you're can be remote, it's going to be whoever's like about the same level you are. We start looking at global competitors. That's your Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 versions of what you want to do, right? They are the ones that are spending the money so you don't have to. They're showing you what works, because just, I'm going to use, your random numbers, for example. Say, you are making $10 million a year. And one of your global competitors is doing 100 million. Rough numbers, and you're spending $10,000 a month on ads, they're probably spending $100,000 a month on ads or more. And now they've got departments to make sure that 100 grand isn't just getting lit on fire. So they're going in, seeing what the market needs. They're doing market analysis. They're split testing everything. So when you can go under your competitors and see what types of posts they're putting out, you can see what type of engagement they're coming back with. You can even go on there and see, in some of the cases, you can see what people do like and don't like about those offers. And then you can start making adjustments to what is it that your business does better than the competitor. Right. Let's shine a little light on that. I've never wanted to like talk shit about a competitor, but if I see that, that their product is subpar and that they've had a lot of complaints, I'll start showing the fact that, hey, we have no complaints, right, that our products are superior. And I will start shining a little light on that. Right. And then of course you want to hone in on like what it is you are good at and shine a light on that as well. So your offer has to be number one that you've got to focus on. think about your demographic, who you're pitching to. Because like you said, if you're out in California, your pitch is going to be different than if you're in the Midwest, different than if you're in Corpus Christi, different than if you're a DFW.
Right.
So you got to think about who you're talking to. And even in Corpus Christi, there's going to be some neighborhoods that you're going to be talking to that's going to be a completely different pitch than in others. So there's no one size fits all. I don't care who you are. And that's the number one biggest complaint I have with like marketing gurus out here that are pitching these, like, sell these trainings for sales and marketing, because there literally is no one size fits all.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be custom.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of that, one of the things, I was doing a little research on your website. One of the things that I saw is you guys use SWOT in order to kind of qualify your clients. And so tell me, why is that, and how do y'all execute that?
Yeah, no, great question. So that's exactly what we do with our competitors. So it's called SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So at the end of the day, for me to hold my head high and go to sleep well at night, yes, it is to market your business, but it's also to market it efficiently. Say, for example, I see that y'all are having conversion problems, or that your sales staff, you've got two different sales staff. You got Jake and Paul. I'm just going to use those names. And
the whitest white boy names.
Right. And, Jake's conversion rate is horrible and Paul's is doing really well. And say, for example, for this specific client, I go shadow him, or I go listen into some of his sales calls, and he sounds like he hates his life. Mm-hmm. That's a teaching moment, right? There's an opportunity here to say, look, I can market your business all you want. And say we have, 100 leads a month, and 50 go to Jake and 50 go to Paul, and Paul's closing 80% of them and Jake's closing 10% of them. We are literally wasting marketing dollars at that point. So I take a look at everything within that own organization. So when we come on with a new client, I actually run a SWOT analysis on the client themselves. I want to see what their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are, because ultimately their weaknesses and their threats I want to make better, because ultimately I want the whole company to be better overall. Because if we're going to be sending people to you and they start seeing what those weaknesses and threats are, they're gonna be like, I'm out, Just the same thing like what you do with these marketing companies. You see a marketing company, you go look at their own social media or platforms or whatever, and it falls flat. You're probably not going to use them. Same thing if I'm, pushing your solar agency, and we're pushing them our agenda, and we're pushing people your way, and you've got some major weaknesses and major threats going on, people probably aren't going to use you.
Right.
So once we get that business up and running to where their SWOT looks solid, we also do that with their competitors. And that's where we start picking out, all right, look, if say, for example, we're in Corpus Christi, and we have one main primary competitor, and they're spending money. And one of their weaknesses is, I don't even know. Like, one of their weaknesses is they're known for leaving messy job sites.
It's a real thing.
Yep. So now, when we get in the ring and take the gloves off to fight this competitor, guess what our promo is going to be? Yo, we leave beautiful job sites. We leave our job sites better than when we came into it. Mm-hmm. Now, if y'all were identical businesses, but y'all had that one differential, guess who I'm going to go with? I'm going to go with the person that keeps a clean job site.
What's crazy is we're on the same page with that, because one of the things I came out with a couple months ago was this one cheater, right? So my guys are in the field. We're big on one cheaters, and we laminate them so they can use them out in the field as a visual for the customer, right? Because it's easy to for some of us to visualize something somebody's talking about, but every now and then we need that physical representation of it, right? So we have a one cheater, and it's called Difference Makers, and it walks through all the different things that make us different than every other company. You know what I mean? And that's all that is we're just doubling down on their weaknesses, And we've got everything from the nonprofits we support to the energy drink. That's a big difference maker, to the solar insurance and everything that we've got going on. I think we have about 5 solid ones that really set us apart from the competition, because it does. When you do face-to-face sales, you get in a house and they're like, what? I mean, they're not asking it, but they're wanting you to tell them. You can tell they're wanting it, like, okay, you're doing the same equipment. you're telling me the same thing that this other solar company is telling me. What makes you different? You know? And so that's where that difference maker sheet kind of comes in, and they're able to execute on that.
No, I think that's beautiful. And like you said, like, when you're have the opportunity to have that face-to-face conversation, you see these people that are, like you said, they say it on them. They want to be sold. It's just up to your sales staff and anyone else that's listening. It's up to your sales staff, or you, if you are that sales staff, to extract what it is that they want to be closed by. Because like I said, let's go back to a dirty job site. You might have someone that literally just spent thousands of dollars on their landscaping, and the last thing they want is a bunch of blue collar dudes coming up, throwing spit cans or spit wads out, and, leaving Red Bull or Argenta energy, cans on, cans all over the place. That's a big thing for some people. So you got to listen to people, pay attention, and they will, if you're and this is the difference here between a salesman and a closer, right? You will hear, you will find out, you will pull it out of them, and they will tell you what they need from you to be closed. You just got to be listening.
Oh, absolutely. So when it comes to marketing and converting that to lead and then lead to a sale, what do you think can be, because, so many conversations happen, especially like in the sales groups, right? Where a lot of guys will brag on their marketing and their automation, And so, and I know this is a very general question and you don't have a particular product or client in mind, we can narrow it down to home service businesses, right? So that's obviously solar, energy, that's roofing, that's construction, concrete, landscaping, yard maintenance, all that type of stuff, any type of home service. What do you feel like can be, if the business is sound, right? What can be automated versus what do you need a person for?
No, that's a great question.
When it comes to the sales process, marketing through closing.
Yeah, no, so that's a great question. So I firmly believe that a CMO and a CTO have crisscrossing paths. Like, I think a CMO needs to be able to have a good handle on all things marketing, but there is like automation that does come into that. Your CTO needs to know all the technical safety realm and, data security and all that, but then they also need to know the automations. So with us being in marketing, a lot of our quote unquote marketing really just is, and going back to making companies work more efficiently, is the automation stuff. So with that being said, I have a very, very, very strong stance on, I don't ever want to take a job from an American. So when I come in to pitch you something automation, you can pull that wall down of saying like, oh, you're trying to get me to fire people. I don't like firing people. Oh, it's weird. No, you have tasks that person could create that's now has the time that's more profit producing, right? Whether that be whether that's more revenue generating, or whether that's helping things run a little bit smoother, speed some things up. They've got higher quality problems they can be dealing with. So like, for example, we have a CRM program for roofing and solar. So again, I don't want this to be a pitch fest, but like, we focus on roofing and solar. Those are our two industries that we focus on. And
that's my demographic. I have, whenever I do an episode about solar, typically I see a spike in downloads, Okay. So they need to hear this. Go ahead.
Yeah. Awesome. So we have sequences and automations in place that are much more superior than some of these just straight up white leveled quote unquote CRM systems. So we actually have the strategy and the abilities to come in and custom write what's called API codes, right? To have certain triggers that go out. So for example, and I'll just kind of give y'all how we approach roofing and solar clients. So we'll pull data first. We will then start nurturing, and then the real ones, the real clients will I'll send them a map. We split test 3 sub markets. Cause for me, coming from a marketing background, I'm really good at what I do, but I will never say 100% without a doubt, this is going to be the answer. I want to show you at least 3 different options and let the data and the statistics and the analytics prove it. Okay. So we split test 3 different demographics. So I would come to you, I would come to your Corpus Christi location, and I would say, what are your 3 best neighborhoods? And we would pick the 3, and those 3, and what I consider best, we're going to take into consideration what your close rate is. We're going to take into consideration how nice they are to your door guys. Because just like when you pick up your phone, you're going to have a different attitude when you know that it's going to close. Yeah. You're going to have a different attitude when you know whether or not you're going to get cussed out or not, right? Yeah. So we take a lot of things into consideration. We split test 3 different demographics. We start nurturing them through SEO and through Google PPC and then social media targeting. From that point, that's when we start initiating the door knockers. How door knockers, before they go out, we'll send a surveyor to go out with an actual schematic of the location, and they will actually mark off whatever's more, right? They'll either mark off the ones that that already have solar, right? So it's like, all right, well, we're not going to waste money marketing these guys. So they'll go through a neighborhood. Say there's 500 homes in the neighborhood, and we mark off 100. We now have 400 real prospects that we can actually pitch to. So then we start nurturing those 400 people. Then we start sending that 8x8 campaign that goes out with the direct mail. So we start warming them up, and it starts very, very non-critically. It's not like, oh, let's close these guys right now. When you're hungry for a close, you start missing the points, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just, the first one that goes out, it's just an introduction. Hey guys, we're Argento. We're going to be here. If you see us in the red and white trucks, blue and white trucks, y'all's colors are blue and white, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Blue and white trucks, blue and black.
Oh, for solar, it's gold and maroon, if you can believe it.
Okay. So, hey, if y'all see us out in the gold and maroon trucks, we just wanted to let you know and introduce ourselves. We're Sherwood Forest's local, solar specialists. So we're starting to get very granular with them. And then we start warming them up to saying that, hey, we're in your area. Then the next step we take is starting to remove pain points, because I'll tell you, this is a big thing that most marketers either don't know or don't do. So a lot of it is just removing. It's the convenience factor, and it's also an embarrassment factor. No one wants to ask one of your guys, your surveyors, to get in their truck. They don't know where you're located. In their mind, your boy's got to get in his truck, drive across town in 110-degree heat, get out, get on a ladder, climb up on your roof, start surveying an area where the sun's going to, where the solar panels are going to fit best, where the sun, they get the most sun. And then guess what? They're not going to be able to afford it. So now they just had your guy get in his truck, drive across town, get all hot and sweaty, climbing up and down ladders just to not even be able to get the deal done. So now we start eliminating those pain points of them having that convenience factor of saying, like, we're in your neighborhood right now. We're actually on your street. We would love to be able to walk by and just let you know what we found out, right? All we're looking for is that foot in the door. All we're looking at is putting a face with a name. So we start
in our case, and this is just speaking to the audience here, in our case, the deal's done before any of that happens. A site survey does happen, but the contract's signed before that because we're able to do that digitally.
Oh, yeah, so that's right. Yep.
We could relieve that pain point in that marketing. Let them know, hey, this is all done digital. We don't have to get outside in this hot, Corpus Christi heat, whatever the case is. You can run at them like that.
And it's funny that you say that, because even look at me. I deal with solar guys every day. And that literally just slipped my mind in conversation. Uh-huh. So it's, you don't know what you don't know till you know it. So if they have no idea that you can do this from a Google map or, whatever software you're using, they don't even know that. So that's a great point. So you start bringing in these, this education, And so from there, as we nurture all that stuff, we start collecting leads. Those leads, as you guys know, those leads can come in, and depending on what we're doing with that, we can automate the entire process. I can even automate to where they can sign contracts, they can pay invoices, they can put deposits down, all this automatically. As your guys go out and they start door knocking and they start closing deals, we can actually automate that entire process to where They can hit a single button on their phone. It sends that information over to them. I'm sure y'all have a lot of this automated. From that point, everything on the back end gets thrown into specific triggers where we then start nurturing them. This is the biggest thing, is nurturing them from like referrals and stuff like that, and building out a sequence of events that happens to where we start increasing the lifetime value of that specific client and setting them up with their own systems. So these CRM systems, and I don't want it to come across, especially on your channel, as like I'm not that educated on all of our automations, because we have developers that actually can custom code anything that they want with specific, API triggers and things of that nature. But if you can think of it, we can make it happen as far as automations, as far as, contracts, payments, as far as automating everything from pretty much any of almost all of, document trading, stuff like that can be automated. All of our triggers for our marketing and sales are automated. Like if they scan the QR codes on the postcards, it actually hits specific triggers inside the CRM system to alert your different sales staff or project managers or whoever it is on how this person's interacted and things of that nature.
No, that's huge information, especially if you're going into an impulse sale or you're working turf. It's like you might prime a neighborhood for a month and then send your guys over there, and then it's ready to roll and things start popping off because now they know you, and now because you remove some of those pain points, they like you. You've removed some of the competition pain points or the ones that are in their head, whatever the case is, and then when they're meeting you face to face, trust is so much easier versus over the phone or digital or whatever the case. So
100%.
Tell me about your marketing firm. Where are you guys headed? What's the future for you guys?
Yeah, no, I mean, so that's a great question. So, we ended up falling into the investment space. That's really where one of our first clients, luckily we were able to, it was really kind of crazy. We took him from $1 million annually to $3.5 million annually within our first 12 months of working together. But that's not even the cool part. Obviously, tripling your revenue and your profits is pretty freaking cool. But the coolest thing was we removed him from his business completely, other than producing content. So that was pretty cool. Those numbers then led us to acquiring more and more clients in the investment and automation space. Due to that, we were able to reinvest some of our funds to produce our own investment program. And it's really fun because of utilizing what I'm considering other people's money, is our clients were paying us handsomely to produce these numbers for them. But all the while, not only were we working with some of the best in the space, but that also gave us the time, the money, and everything associated to actually be doing those competitive analysis on the top producers. So now I've got, 2.5 years of education on how to beat everyone in the competition. Not only that, in the last year and a half or so, call it 2 years, we've actually been able to transact about 500 new investors through our own, personal marketing. So and sales department, actually. So due to that, we've gotten we've been able to see what these 500 investors like and don't like of all of our previous, service providers, and some are current service providers. So now we just keep developing this into something that's going to be more and more efficient and more investor minded. So, our program is really cool because now we've got 500 case studies of other people's services to see what worked and what didn't work on both sides. Nice. So we just applied that to our own program, man. And it's been pretty cool because we're bringing people education and we're literally changing people's lives. I mean, I've got multiple messages on, we're literally changing people's family trees. And to me, that's the most important thing because, we're bringing a level of education that, going back to it, you don't know what you don't know till you know it. And we're teaching people. This is the part that, none of our competitors have, is for us, could we charge twice as much? Yeah. And we'd be right there in about the competitive market. But But, you know, like you said, man, I love my truck. I got a 67 Lincoln Continental. That's my dream car. You put that next to a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Like, I already got it, man. I'm not out here trying to flex in McLarens and, you know, all this. I really care about the longevity and the lifetime value of a client. I mean, our referral program is insane. People want to send us people for free because it's their friends and family. They care about them. So they want them to have their life changed. Right. We just happen to give them free money for doing it. Like, it's really cool. But we bring in people to educate them on, hey, now that you've made all this money with no time invested, let me show you how to keep it. We're bringing in, a CFO to train them on how to prepare their taxes, what they need to think about for taxing, what types of, how to defer this, and setting them up with bookkeeping that is specialized in like passive income, as well as we're teaching people how to, build their credit up to where it needs to be if they're not there yet. So we can actually help nurture these people. And then once we get them there, we actually have 2 different programs where we can help them. It's big on other people's money. Like, if you were to put your money in the bank, it gets like 0.001, cents on the dollar. Right.
And then inflation hits.
And then you're screwed. We're able to help people acquire like 18 month 0% credit cards, borrow that money from the bank, use the bank's money to start making the money. And then as we nurture that, and as their LLC gets those tax, previous tax records and builds up some good actual like credit through like Duns and Bradstreet and things of that nature, at the end of that 18 months, we can actually roll them into 18 more months in business line of credit at 0%. So now we've basically given them 3 years of utilizing other people's money at 0% and roll them into a really well produced business. I mean, our cost is about 20 grand to get started with us. That's a hard cost. And then we need a line of credit. And with a line of credit of 20 grand, you can produce $50,000 to $70,000 in pure profit, basically months 12 to 24. That's like your first full fiscal year of running. You'll make profits way before that. And we're actually revenue producing within 30 days. It's really insane. But that's about 20 grand of operational capital. You bump that up to about 45 grand and you're looking at like 120 to 180 grand and just straight up money that you make. I call it Melbucks money. I call it Pello money, whatever you want to call it. But it's been really cool to help educate people on how to use other people's money to make money. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, a lot of companies aren't taking the time to do that, right? So first of all, this is possible, right? This automation or this product. I know you are big on digital real estate too. So it's like, I didn't know until I knew, right? Like you said. And then, so there's a lot of people out there that, that's their first investment. It's like a digital real estate website, right? Yep. So, you're going from home services, servicing businesses, servicing individuals and turning them into businesses, because what do we know? The tax savings when you're a business is completely different than an individual, right?
100%.
So now your company becomes less of a marketing company and more of a education company all of a sudden.
And that's really what it is. And that was kind of going back to our previous conversation in sales is realistically it's education, man. You start teaching these people how, and there's a saying that if you can ask a question better than someone else can say it, they will actually assume that you have the answer. So if I can actually help these people ask questions in my education before they can even wrap their head around how to ask it, they're just going to assume that I'm the authority in the space that has the answers. But 100% right. And I'll tell you, like, my wife and I actually just put off a pretty massive home purchase because we wanted to stay within our guidelines of how we decided to budget ourselves as a family. And for everyone listening, like, we don't buy anything. So there's active income and there's passive income. Active income, you actually have to work for. So that's your door knocking. That's your running your solar company and all that. Yeah. And then you take that active income and you put it into passive income investments. And then whatever that passive income investment produces is how we spend our money. So theoretically, everything that if you see, go to stalk me on social or anything else, anything you see, Zack's not paying for. One of my LLCs is paying for it, and it's all based off money that was produced by utilizing my money to make money.
Yeah, and your active income never got spent, so now you don't owe taxes on it yet. It got invested into something else. You defer the taxes, and now you're growing that portfolio tax-free for the most part, right? You're minimizing those taxes through so many things, Augusta rule, paying your kids. I mean, there's so many things that you can utilize when you have an LLC or an S corp, and you're just building that portfolio, you know. And you talk about a 401k. This is a 401k on crack, you know. Like this is different,
man. And that's been the hard thing. As like, I've got me and you both, we have a lot of really good friends that are in, you know, financial advisors, and they're pushing you to the IRAs and the 401ks and all the A's, right? All the investments. And so like, I'm not shitting on any of them. And in fact, like, you know, so we have everything set up as in a trust. The trust owns all the LLCs. Everything passes through accordingly, and everything gets put, or what we can pushes towards where we pay taxes now and let everything grow, you know, tax free. And so that's all the stuff that people don't know about. Like, most people don't know about trust, and most people don't know that they can actually have an LLC and, you know, push everything through that. So it's that education part of things that we're trying to help people with and really change these people's lives, because again, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. And, you know, through that, that's probably been one of the most satisfying things, because we're giving people the opportunity to live their life how they want, because everyone else with the 401ks, you know, like you were saying, is retirement's at 65. Like that hurts my heart to say, you know. Yeah. And so we're teaching people that I can retire most people within 3 to 5 years if they wanted to. Now, a lot of us entrepreneurs, we're about working, right? We'd be too bored not working. But I've got several personal, you know, family members and investors that are on between what their investment strategy is and how willing they are to throw money out from their active income. $150,000 invested, obviously with some lines of credit, but that would be a separate conversation. Right. But 150 grand invested over a 3 to 5 year period, we can easily produce in about $30,000 a month in passive income. That's
insane. So
most people never see that in their life. Right. And it's just because they don't know about it. They don't know how to spend money to make it work for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of wrap up here, you know, I'm going to ask you the same question I ask all of my guests now, and it's become just a great question to ask, and I love it. And I learn a lot with every guest too. So, you know, you talked about a trust. You talked about, you know, setting up that financial literacy, right? And it really does kind of lead us towards the next question, which is, you know, what do you think legacy is, and what legacy are you going to leave behind?
Man. You know, it's funny that you say that, because just yesterday, Jay Bird, my head of sales, asked me, he goes, when is Zack Williams satisfied? And it's not that I'm, you know, some crazy, you know, producer. I mean, I do well, don't get me wrong. But it was the fact that, like, so I have a daughter and a wife, and those are my girls, and it's just going to be us three. Like, we literally dedicated ourselves to having a small family so that we can enjoy, you know, the nicer things in life. And as I'm saying this, like, we're actually about to fly out next week to go to our favorite place in the world, which is Belize, for 2 weeks. And nice. Those memories that we make in Belize, and with all of the rest of our travel was the biggest promise my wife and I made before we got married, is let's not stop traveling no matter what. And it's all about the memories. And those memories are something that I want to share with literally everyone I care about. So for me, the way that I've done this, and again, I really don't want this to sound like a pitch, but what we've done thus far with the ability of changing people's lives was showing them, because at the end of the day, money does not create happiness, but money can help you. You know what? Money buys happiness. Yeah, I don't care what you say. So helping people, the ones that I care about, live this life of their dreams, has set in motion the craziest amount of positive karma I've ever seen in my entire life for my family and I. So what I'm personally trying to do is set my daughter up to where she's set for life mentally and financially. And what I mean by that is my daughter will never have to worry about anything, but she's not getting handed multi-millions of dollars with multi-million-dollar, annual revenue. Mm-hmm. She's going to have to work for it. But in order for her to get that, she has to become her own person. And so seeing my daughter become her own person, and genuinely the way this is looking for me and my family is I'll be quote unquote retired in about 10 years. I'll still have my own little side hustles. I could retire now if I wanted to, but I've still got a legacy to build. And that legacy is leaving a super massive foundation for my daughter to take over and to be able to help change and impact as many lives as we want. My current goal, as far as leaving a legacy behind, is I want to produce 1,000 millionaires within the next decade.
Damn, that's a advantageous goal for sure. I love it though. You already got your start. Obviously, everyone's not going to convert to a millionaire, but you talk about the 500 investors that y'all have acquired over the last couple of years. I mean, that's the start, right? Maybe 10% of them will become millionaires or something like that. So it's like, all right, now you got a metric to attack that with. That's my whole thing is, what I've seen since I've been asking this question is these huge legacies that these people want, and they're like eons from them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like sometimes you just need to bring it down a notch. And it's not to like say like don't have big dreams and stuff like that, but the answers are always so huge when it's like, shit, if you just take care of your family, you may leave a multi-generational legacy that 0.01% of the earth leaves. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like most people will never leave, And
I'll tell you too. So like, and again, it's funny. So my head of sales and we talk every day, all day, pretty much.
I love Jordan. He's awesome.
Yeah, dude. He's a great dude. And we had a conversation because he sent me a screenshot where he was like, I'm rubbing off on Alexis, which is one of his daughters. Mm-hmm. And, she was like, she left herself like a really, motivational note. Yeah. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And like, it was a real emotional feeling for me because obviously I know my daughter and I know I have impact on my daughter, which would be a multi-generational impact. But, and Jordan would tell you this too. Man, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. For lack of better terms, this sounds egotistical, but I pulled him under my wing.
Right.
I saw how much value he had, and I saw he was being undervalued where he was, and I was like, "You are mine," and
I'm gonna invest in you.
Right. And I've been able to see such an insane change in his life and his mentality since October when we started working together. And now to see those same trickle effects happen to his daughter is super impactful for me. I have control over what my daughter sees, hears, feels, thinks, and is surrounded by. I don't in my employees' families, right? Theoretically.
Right.
To see that impact from someone else's family start trickling down to multi-generational, bro, there's no words. There's no words. And I know you're doing that for your staff because me and you have had offline conversations about how, you lead from the front and what you do for your staff and things of that nature. And man, like I couldn't be more proud of you for what you're doing. But that feeling is special when you're impacting. It's one thing to impact people horizontally. Once you start going vertically with it, dude, it's insane.
Yeah, that's where it's at. I think that's where true legacy lies, is in that multi-generational impact like you talked about. That's a great spot to end on, brother. If I do have, some listeners that are interested in your services or just want to reach out to you, just want to hit you up, have a conversation, where do they catch you at?
Man, I appreciate that. So pretty much all across the board, you can find me at Zack with a K. So ZACK. And then it's ROI, like return on investment. And then Williams. So ZACK, ROI Williams. And you can also find me and all my links to everything at that website too, ZackROLWilliams.com. So just hit me up, man. I'd love to meet all you guys. So, hit me up on Facebook or Instagram, drop me a DM, and I'd love to chop it up with you. I'd love to meet you guys.
Awesome. So we got marketing, investments, multi-generational legacy. That's the game plan.
I love it, dude. I'm excited, man. I'm about to log off this call, and I'm like getting straight back to work. I'm pumped.
All right, brother. Let's get building.
All right, bro. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Building Great Sales Teams. We appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and leave a review wherever you consume podcasts, and subscribe so you're notified when we release new content. Great sales teams aren't recruited. They are built brick by brick. Let's get building.